Excellent. Well, I'm here today for another episode of the InsurTech Leadership Podcast. I'm Josh Hollander of Horton International, and I am joined by Pablo Molina. He is CEO and co-founder of Infinite Watch. Welcome, Pablo.
Welcome. Thank you, Joshua. Thank you for hosting me.
Yeah, absolutely. So just by a quick way of background, Infinite Watch is an AI native platform built for insurance and other regulated verticals with three families of agents that work across the value chain: conversational voice, data and document handling, and real-time business intelligence. Pablo was the founding CTO at CoverWallet, scaled the engineering organization to more than 300 people, and helped grow the business past $1 billion in premiums before Aon acquired it in 2019. It's now back in insurance, and the company came out of stealth in late 2025. Welcome again, Pablo.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. So anything else you'd like to add by way of background before we kind of jump into things in a little bit more detail?
Right. So in terms of background, I think that you mentioned it. I am a software engineer, and I spent my whole career building software products. And the most relevant chunk of it, so for the last 10, 15 years, has been around insurance. So I have this combination of a technology builder with insurance domain expertise. So that's why now, with my two co-founders, Iñaki and Alberto, we were the three founding members of CoverWallet, and then this is what we are trying to build again with Infinite Watch, which is AI-based or an AI-native solution for the insurance industry. Okay.
So obviously, there's a lot of AI solutions out there. There's certain things, that are built on old-fashioned machine learning. There's certain things that are generative AI. There's certain things that are agentic AI. There's certain things that claim to be all of the above. Where are you kind of in the AI landscape, and kind of what's your approach, and how is it different from what others are doing out there?
Yeah. So I think we are somewhere between AI and agentic. And when I make that difference is because we are developing AI-based workflows as much as we can, where we can have control and audit of everything that the AI executed, kind of, rather than letting an agent orchestrate and design by its own. Okay. So we're doing that, and that's not that much different from others. What we're doing differently is that our methodology of deployment starts from an observability layer. So we first of all deploy AI insights agents that will ingest every customer interaction. Okay, we sit in the front office. We sit on where customer requests take place, whether that is for sales or servicing, and then we ingest that on every channel. That is, phone calls that we get from the call center. That is WhatsApp messages or SMSs. That is chatbots, emails, and also web visits. We are tracking whatever happens online on the web channels of brokers and carriers. Then once we get that, we have a view, of what the operations and customer interaction look like. Okay, and once we have that view, that with AI, we allow our users to query using natural language or to discover and run metrics on their own using prompts, basic prompts. Then is when we, after that, we deploy agents that will run tasks autonomously. Okay, so that is a secure way to run that deployment. Is first of all, you have visibility of how the operations look like. Then you add automation, AI automation on top. That's what makes it different.
Got it. And in terms of sort of the three areas of focus, or the three families of agents, is there one that's a natural starting point? Does it depend on the client and kind of what they've already deployed, or does it depend on whether they're a carrier versus a broker? How are you approaching that?
Yeah. Okay. So I think the starting one is, so the three are what we call conversational agents, those that can entertain conversations, whether that is audio or messaging. The second one is data, and that means data entry, like posting data into different systems, but also fetching data, structured data from documents or websites. And number three is insights, which is the one that I recently mentioned. So we start with that one, with insights, and that's the recommendation. Then to add those other two on top. Okay. To your question, whether this applies to brokers or carriers or who does it apply to, I think it's generalistic in this sense. What we are doing now is that we are, we are running payment collections, premium collections agents in production. We're doing that for a large carrier in the US. We are also running claims, and that is end-to-end automated, and we're doing that for a large broker in Europe. And yeah, eventually, that's kind of more opportunistic in the sense that whether broker or carrier, we build end-to-end workflows with those agents' families, and then we just solve for whomever is the client next. Okay.
Got it. And are there certain lines of business where you're focused, or were sort of more natural starting points, or how are you looking to market that way?
Yeah. So the line of businesses we are right now, the ones that we have in production are more personal lines. But we are recently developing also solutions for commercial lines where things are way more complex whenever it has to do with fetching data and reaching data that's necessary for subscriptions, and how to help brokers reduce the time that they take for them to quote and bind and to serve commercial lines, reduce that from days or hours to 2 minutes. Okay, and so yeah.
Got it. And what convinced you to come back, into insurance again?
Into insurance, yeah. Well, insurance, I think I had it pretty clear, because when we founded Infinite Watch, as I said, I mean, the three founders, we came from Cover Wallet, and then we were wondering how would we build Cover Wallet if we had to do it with AI, with this generative AI technology that we have nowadays with LLMs, frontier LLMs. And then there were a bunch of components of the platform that we built back then that it's clear that now with AI, the solution is way more scalable. Okay, so for us, it was clear and intentional that we were going to insurance, and that's what we're doing basically. So from day one, there are some solutions on top of those agents that we understand that they have an application outside of insurance, for instance, payment collections or the insights agents that we have, because that applies to any call center, whether the call center is already an agentic voice operation, or if it is humans. And we actually have clients that are fintech and they are on the adjacents of insurance. But what we're doing recently is that when we are developing more complex workflows like end-to-end, we're doing that with the experience that we have in insurance, because that's the domain that we have expertise on. Okay, so I think it is very strategic for us to target insurance. Yeah.
So obviously you're in the CEO seat now, whereas you were CTO previously. But how is it different starting this business now versus going back to the days of starting Cover Wallet?
Right. Well, the reality is that it's pretty different. It's very different because on this AI world, AI native companies like ours and others, we have the ability to develop software very fast, way faster than in the past. So there is no technology moat as such, like it used to be. That's what I mean. No. So on one side is fascinating what we can build, and I still do it myself using Cloud Code or using Codex or Cursor, and then
Yeah.
making use of LLMs for software engineering. Yeah. It is fascinating on one side. On the other side, when it comes to competition, it really get that competition to not so that the differentiators are not in the technology anymore, okay, or in the product that you build, because people can catch up pretty fast. No?
Yeah.
So that is one. And number two is that the space is pretty crowded. You just, when we started this podcast, Joshua, you were saying, hey, there are many like you. So what is your differentiator? And that is a reality because basically VC money is poured into AI as a category, and everyone is here. So we see everyone left and right. That is why it is very important that whenever picking a vendor, it's not that much who's doing better than other, because we're very similar, but is who knows, who has the larger know-how, right? The domain expertise. I think that our differentiator is that we know insurance, we've been there, and we can, understand really pain points of brokers and carriers, and that is what makes it different. And you see that on the first deployment, and you see that compound as we move on from a pilot into production or to scaling phase. Okay, so that is important. And then the second thing is that we do that also keeping in mind that we are in a regulated industry, that audits, and traceability is built in. There's no other choice. That it's not a negotiation point. So yeah, that's where I see that there is a difference.
And what was the tech stack at Cover Wallet deterministic, and how do you navigate that with probabilistic nature of some of the more modern AI?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, you can say that Cover Wallet was deterministic, not the full of it, because we also had prediction. As you said
Predictive
before,
analytics and things like that.
Exactly, predictive analytics for churn. We also had it for our acquisition campaigns, okay, and marketing campaigns, and with that, we were managing capacity on the investment on paid marketing, but also on the capacity that we need to have the call center to serve the different campaigns. No? So yeah, all that stuff was machine learning based, but now since we're making use of generative AI for a way more, larger footprint of the platform.
Yeah.
So I think it is a job for us to have the necessary tool set and the necessary methodology to make it accurate enough. So we work on improving precision behind the scenes. So this is not a SaaS anymore. That you just check in and observing how data is going one side to another, and you fix bugs here and there, and you make sure that is always available. There is a continuous optimization process that we have behind the scenes, where we have people, human being in the loop labeling, and also automated labeling, and that's something that is the component that is absolutely necessary for whatever insurance and regulated industries need. No? So yeah, that is one, and then second is that for some specific task, like when it comes to internal productivity tools, or when it comes to any of those that have to do with customer interactions, there is a, how you say here, there is a line, no, and there are some trade-offs when it comes to investment and resources that companies and our clients need to invest in, and the level of accuracy, the level of precision that they get. No? We need to understand that hallucinations will always be there. Our job is to minimize them, and it is about picking where to deploy the solution that is not high risk, and that's the thing. Okay, so there is also a recommendation and advice element that we do whenever we deploy things, these solutions, and there may be some of critical workflows that there is no fit, and we need to raise them as well.
So in addition to sort of starting this on the premise of, if we were to start CoverWallet over again, but use the latest AI native tools, did you also look at some of the other attempts at AI that, carriers, brokers, et cetera, were trying to implement, and maybe where those were falling down to make decisions about your approach?
So I think that, because previous to Infinity Watch, I was the founder, also co-founder of a different AI startup that was like 2 years ago, 2 years and a half, and that was when ChatGPT went out. So back then there was this hype where just a few were really strong in terms of talent when it comes to start exploring. That was the moment where Perplexity started big, Harvey for legal, and there was nobody for insurance back then. And yeah, at that time, it was a talent thing that, any large company has been acquiring since then. And also the fact that frontier models were not that performing. So yeah, like the big players, the big vendors models have improved way a lot since then. And
Yeah.
it is now the moment that this kind of deployment will perform better. But yeah, I think that companies need to rely on those that we've been for those years, at least 2-3 years, experience in deployments. Okay, experience in how to get this live, because still there are some challenges, and there is a talent component that is important. Because, for instance, in our case, when we deploy something to production, day one, so it's not going to perform as expected. So there is a ramp-up period that we try to reduce it to days, like maximum a couple of weeks, where we expect the agent then, or we make the agent perform by, as I said before, optimizing and working with evals and making the precision and recall do the job. Okay, so yeah. Now, question is whether any carrier or any other broker can do that on their own. The answer is yes. But then I think that our advantage is that we see a lot, or we see many, and we are exposed to a larger diversity of issues and problems than a single player would do. And then we just have that experience that makes a difference somehow. No?
So I don't know if you want to focus on the insights, since that's kind of the foundation, or one of the other agent families, but could you maybe describe sort of what before and after looks like within a customer?
Yeah. Okay.
When you deploy.
So let's start with the insights, because there's a clear example there. So this is a mid-size broker or mid-size carrier running operations in all 50 states. Okay, and then there are like 2 or 3 call centers sitting, whether it's in the country or it's abroad, offshore, and that makes 200 people or whatever plus that. So there's people attending phone calls, and there's also these people where those are outbound and inbound, and also people taking care of WhatsApp messages, emails here and there. No? Now, in order to run operations on such an organization, there are teams that are auditing calls, listening random, a sample of calls that usually is 1 to 2%, max 5% of those. And they do that because they want to improve operations and how agents are performing, how agents are following the playbook, how agents are naming campaigns, how they are doing upsells, cross-sells when that is expected, but also from an audit and compliance reason, right? Because they need to be auditing a bunch of those. So that is what's happening nowadays. Now, this same company now deploys an AI voice agent. They get the voice agent out there to do policy checks, something pretty basic, at the phone, inbound calls, and then they have the same team now listening to the agent as well, to the AI bot, to understand if the AI is performing or not. And now you need to then hire more people to do that because that's the way that you've been always scaling. So what we get to the mix is that we get an AI, we deploy insights, our AI insights, that would then ingest all that data, messages, audio calls, and also including whatever in the web is happening, like forms that are submitted, again, through websites, right? And now we expose that to LLMs that semantically understand what's going on. And then they will report immediately after the call whether the playbook has been followed or not. They can report about cancellation reasons, and then it is extracted is more accurate than people labeling it on a CRM after the fact. And also we'll figure out if there were opportunities to upsell or cross-sell depending on the customer profile, right? So you can have all those insights, all that visibility, and the fun part is that not just for 1 or 5% as a sample, because with people you cannot scale that much, but you have 100% of it. We do that on 100%, and now you have full visibility of everything. No? So that's the beauty of the solution.
Got it. And so as you go through that process and get the insights, and then maybe move into the data agents level or whatever the case may be, are there certain areas where you're potentially pushing clients to change their processes? Are there other areas where you're kind of manipulating the agents to fit their model, or do you land somewhere in the middle? How do you go through that? Talk about workflows. So how do you go through that kind of end-to-end process?
Okay, that's a great question. Because the reality is that the starting thinking is that we deploy agents by just replicating the existing workflow. But as soon as we get into the conversations with the operations teams, then there are some opportunities that at the same time improving what's there, right? And that's what we do. So for instance, when it comes to payment collections, we've been calling the policy holder 3 days in a row at the same time in order to try to reach the person and then try to collect the money. We have a memory, a shared memory, where we are storing behaviors, okay? And then the solution can learn on its own and then can then decide that the next call is not happening at the same time, but why not later the day where there is more contactability, where the contactability rate is large, okay? So those kind of things are discovered by the LLM as well, our solution, and that's what we deploy, okay? So we try to improve collection and connected rate in this case. No? So those are examples of learning solution that you can build on top of what Infinity Watch brings.
Yeah. And do you feel like you have visibility because you're talking to carriers, brokers, BPOs, et cetera? These organizations have different kind of procurement cycles and levels of compliance, probably other things like that, risk tolerance. Is there a segment you see moving fast, or in general, just based on your contacts and knowledge of the industry, are there certain places where you see AI adoption really taking off more than others?
Well, the reality is that it is moving slow for where we would like as an early startup player. But yeah, we understand the reasons why. We've been here before, and there are some opportunities that we find whenever we are on that pilot cycle and deployment cycle that we put on the table. For instance, what we do is that we parallelize the work on procurement, compliance with our own technical discovery and our own technical build. Okay, so I think that if both sides, if it is a real partnership where there is the proper sponsorship, why not start the job while we are going through compliance and procurement? We already have those logos that that really represent. I mean, and that we are enterprise ready, call it. So yeah, I think that the more that can be parallelized at the beginning and not doing one step after the other, that helps, right? And then also I think that since pilots, they need to be running in production to really make a be representative. And the key part here is to find out that use case that is simple enough, that is representative enough, so that if it is successful, it will tell that the rest will also be as good. And that is the most important thing, to find the first use case that is the best candidate for then, get something running as fast as we can, and then move forward. No?
Yeah. So if you have a couple more minutes, I just want to shift gears for a second.
Yeah.
So you've kind of put together a founding team that is people who have worked together before, sort of putting the band back together, but maybe wearing different hats, different responsibilities. And what's that been like, navigating through that?
So I think that for us, we worked together in the past 4 years, so we know pretty well each other, the founding team. So we know what the other guy is thinking at any point, so that's great. And then we've been also hiring people that was in our network, whether friends or people that we had references for. We are a small team still. We are a very small team, yeah. And we know pretty well each other, so that is an advantage, right? We're trying to. I mean, we are. We want to be, self-contained when it comes to hiring, and then get those individuals that really can make an AI native culture where, by using the tooling, you are way more productive, and then we can go as fast and scale as fast as we did. We covered wallet with 50% of people. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is the vision.
So if you ran a 300-person engineering team before, where do you see the engineering team growing to in this organization?
Yeah. So hopefully as big, no? And we see that. But what's changing are the positions, right? The profiles. I think that there are. So now this product engineer mindset. So an engineer that can think on the specs of the user experience, on the product value, on the customer, and then work with agents to develop the solution. That's king. Product designers are not that demanded as before. Same as QAs, because most of the things can be really automated. And I think that, and also it is about finding those guys that are senior enough that have a great foundation of how software architecture needs to be developed, and also with new guys that don't have any bias on how things were being developed in the past. So that combination is what makes best. Okay.
And sort of generally speaking, the safe answer is to say AI is an enabler or an amplifier and not a replacement. But are there areas where you think that it will be more of a replacement sooner than later?
I think there's going to be replacement in many areas. So if you think about not that the individual organizations or the individual people, or like positions or practices, call it.
Yeah.
But the way to see it is when it comes to, for instance, cloud code commoditization of software, no, or course or whatever. No? That commoditization of software, where technology is not the mode anymore, where people can really move at that speed. The implication of that, I was going to say, is that that market 10 years ago was top. Like software engineers were hard to find. There was a high demand. Perks for everyone. Companies hiring as crazy. And now we are on the other side of the spectrum. And then from a global market perspective, that has a huge impact. It has a huge impact in the, I would say, in the budget, global budget that's going to be invested on hiring. So, and that is going to happen to any profession, every profession out the door. So, whether it's physical or software, call it hardware or software, it's coming everywhere. So, some of us software engineers, we are seeing the change first ones, no? Because code is very easy to validate when models do well with code, not the same as with natural language. But models are improving a lot. So it is. I think that global headcount of people actually doing work would keep the same or will increase, but professions are going to be replaced and reinvented entirely, like 100%.
Yeah. So last question for me is, so 3 years from now, thinking about Infinite Watch, are you sort of a business that's agents as a replacement for core systems? Are they agents as a complement for core systems, or is it a third thing totally different looking out in the future?
So whether those are agents or another thing, I think they will be a replacement. So there will be a replacement of the systems that we're seeing right now. And the speed that happens, we'll see. But I think a clear example is Google AdWords, right? That was the perfect machine up to 5 years ago, the perfect machine. And now it really is impacted by what these guys have been doing, the AI vendors. At that level of scale, when you see that impact, if you get that to PMS, policy management system or an AMS out there, look, I mean, they're going to be replaced entirely by whatever is an AI native solution, I would say. And that will be generated, whether those are the incumbents, the ones to deploy or whomever, but everything is going to be AI contained.
Yeah. Well, Pablo, it's been great having you on. Anything else you'd like to share? Anything we missed before we wrap up?
So yeah, I mean, I think that thank you again for hosting me here, Joshua. And we're just looking to make business. We're just starting launching market both in the US and in Europe. So open to entertain the conversation to everyone that's been following and is interested in knowing more. And open to learn and what other opportunities and what things we can build together.
All right, great. Well, we'll make sure your company and LinkedIn info, et cetera, are in the show notes. But Pablo Molina Kendall, CEO and co-founder of Infinite Watch, thanks so much for joining me on the InsurTech Leadership Podcast.
Thank you, Joshua.